hello and welcome back to Azure Terraformer. I am back here at Maz Coffee Roasters here in Destin, Florida for another coffee break. This time brought to you by Alex. Alex says, "Thank you so much for your tutorials and stories. The series on Azure Functions taught me a lot. Cheers." Thanks a lot, Alex, and thank you for the coffee. It's quite delicious. When I first started my career, I was doing web dev. I first learned HTML, then I learned Java, then I was kind of forced to do VB6 Com+, and then when .NET came out, I kind of jumped into that full bore because I really missed Java, and C# had kind of the same syntax as Java, so I was pretty excited about that. But I was always a web developer, front end, back end, full stack, everything. From the HTML and JavaScript all the way to the SQL database. But when I got into consulting, I got opened up to a tremendous diversity of different projects and technologies, of course within the Microsoft ecosystem. And this introduced me to different architectures, different application styles. After a few projects in the consulting world doing web dev, there was a new technology wave for natural user interfaces. And a lot of these were driven based on rich client or desktop application-based technologies. So I had to learn a new presentation layer technology called WPF. And with WPF, man, I was racking my brain coming from an HTML and a JavaScript background. Of course I knew C#, but this whole new thing called XAML was radically different. So it was an extremely steep learning curve. I remember talking to my career manager at the time and just like kind of depressed and almost dejected, like, gosh, I'm stupid, like I don't know how to learn this. It is it's really, really hard. Like I don't even know if I'll ever be able to do this. But like any technology, there's kind of like this period of time where it really doesn't click, and you just have to kind of keep going, keep learning, keep using it until the floor drops out and you're just flying and you get it and things click. And this happened to me with WPF, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And WPF, those that may not be aware of this, stands for Windows Presentation Foundation. So it was this kind of radical new technology for building Windows desktop applications using a markup language, a proprietary markup language called XAML. WPF was released with a couple other W technologies, WCF, Windows Communication Foundation, which is more for server-to-server communication, using SOAP and XML, and a whole variety of different transfer formats, as well as WWF, not to be confused with professional wrestling, but Windows Workflow Foundation, which at the time, I think 2006, 2007-ish, all the rage were these BPM tools, business process modeling or business process management tools, where you could create a rules engine and, you know, kind of declaratively construct your logic within it. So WWF, or Windows Workflow Foundation, was to tackle that. But WPF is kind of where I focus my time, because I spent a lot of time as a full stack developer, and I had to learn a new full stack building these natural user interfaces using rich client desktop applications. And what a bunny hole it was. I went super deep. I understood control templating. Items control became my new best friend with data template. And I really unlocked a tremendous amount of understanding about how user interfaces are built and designed. Everything from the interaction models to the complexities of layout and progressive layout on different form factors and different screen sizes. And I'd been doing MVC, Model View Controller, with web application development for a while. So there was a period of time where I tried to apply this architectural pattern within WPF or within rich client applications, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so there's this new architectural pattern called MVVM. So I learned MVVM, and it worked really well with the data binding capabilities built into WPF. Now, Windows and desktop application development has kind of gone the way of the dodo, or at least become more niche, with web development kind of exploding and just taking over. But my experience working with WPF on Windows, building desktop applications, kind of opened me up to new architectural patterns that were emerging in that space that would eventually make their way into web development. At the time, web developers were just kind of curmudgeoning HTML, JavaScript, CSS together in ad hoc fashion. jQuery was just coming out and just increasing its adoption. And it was only later when things like Bootstrap, Knockout.js, Angular, React, etc. would start taking these architectural patterns that I'd been using for years on desktop application development, rich client application development, and apply it within the web context in an HTML and JavaScript setting. Now, somebody might look at that and look at the years that I spent building Windows desktop applications and say, what a waste, nobody builds desktop applications anymore, right? But it just goes to show you that no matter what technology is, no matter what epoch you are within the technology space, if you understand the principles and the patterns at their core from a conceptual level, you can take that understanding and apply it to however the sands of time shift and the technologies change, and maintain your relevance in a contemporary technology setting. And when we're on projects, we don't always get to choose what technology stack we get to work with. Resume-driven development isn't always an option. But I would encourage you, no matter what technology you're working on, no matter how unsexy it might be, remember, there's always nuggets of gold waiting for you to uncover. And if you look a little bit deeper and grok the underlying conceptual architecture of whatever technologies or whatever systems you're building, you'll be able to translate that into long-term success, no matter how technology changes in the future. Anyways, Alex, thank you again for the coffee. Until next time, this is the Azure Terraformer signing off.